Hey Dave, when we come out of the closed session, are you guys gonna?
So I will call to order the Finance Committee meeting of Monday, June 12th, 2023, and ask Dave to please call the roll.
Council President Curry.
Here.
Alder Verveer.
Here.
Alder Vitever.
Present.
Alder Evers.
Here.
Alder Madison.
Here.
Alder Rummel.
Present.
Mayor of Quorum.
Thank you. All right. Our first item, as always, is public comment. I'll just check again, but I do not believe we have any registered speakers. So are there any disclosures or recusals on items on today's agenda? Alder Vitever?
Disclose on item 16. I am an employee of Department of Health Services, Division of Public Health, but I had no role in providing this grant.
Thank you. Any other disclosures or recusals on today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So we have one item, item 18, which is a discussion item. So we will exclude that from consent. Item 2 is a confirmation. Are there any other items that members would like excluded from the consent agenda? Alder Rummel?
Item number 4.
Item 4. Thank you, Alder. Are there any other items that members of the Finance Committee would like to have excluded from the consent agenda? Seeing none, then we will exclude items 2, 4, and 18 from the consent agenda. President Curry, a motion on the consent agenda, please.
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, those items are adopted with their recommendations. Item 2 is Legistar 77858. I'm very pleased to submit to you the appointment of Tom Lynch for confirmation of another 5-year term as Director of Transportation. Can I have a motion, please?
Move to accept.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? Tom is here. Alder Rummel?
Oh, just because he's here, I know you have work plans and big goals, but what's the short version of what you'd like to accomplish in this next 5 years?
All right, I'm going to give a little bit longer answer.
Okay.
I'm just going to say, I feel like the last 5 years have been transformational. We've literally kind of engaged hundreds of millions of dollars in our transportation infrastructure. We've purchased a satellite facility, opened 2 parking structures, gotten grants for the East-West BRT. And then as far as initiatives, we've done Complete Green Streets, Vision Zero, the Transportation Demand Management Ordinance, the Transit Network redesign, which was implemented just yesterday. And so there's, I think, the whole paradigm of transportation has, I think, changed in the last 5 years. As we look forward to the next 5 years, we're submitting a letter even this week to enter into project development for the North-South BRT line. So we would really like to capture funding for that as part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We also will be kind of reinitiating that Amtrak study. We had a kind of a public involvement event right around Christmas. We've been laying a little bit lower, but we have been studying that, and that will ramp up. And then right now, the Wisconsin DOT, in some ways they've been working in other parts of the state for the last decade, I'm going to say, and all of a sudden Dane County is kind of their main focus for all of their efforts. They have the interstate study where they are planning on releasing a preferred alternative this year. The North Stoughton Road project where they will be releasing a preferred alternative this year. The South Stoughton Road project, and then also the Beltline project. So I've never seen so much activity in different levels in one area so quickly. They're all trying to make the funding deadline that they have, the Transportation Projects Commission in 24. But because of that, we have to engage, and we have to probably engage in a serious way. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Madison?
I just want to share a great comment around the updated bus routes, because I've seen lots of, just kind of complaints, but not really complaints, just kind of like, it's different and people are afraid to change sometimes. But I did get an email maybe an hour or so ago, and I will share this with all the other alders in Metro, but since you're here, I figured I would share it. So Constituent says our bus driver said the Common Council will be reviewing the new bus routes and determining how they are going. We rode the new A2 or A through 2 route from East Park to State Street and back again yesterday, and it was great. It was so nice to be able to get there quicker, fewer stops, and not have to worry about parking or transferring buses. We will definitely keep using this route. We hope it is here to stay. It is much easier than having to worry about changing buses to get somewhere. So I appreciate your hard work on this because it got worrisome, coming from that far east, and that's kind of like where I live at. So I'm excited to hear there's good feedback coming from that far out. So
Good.
Thank
That's
you.
good to hear.
Thank you, Alder. Any additional questions or discussion? If not, is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor of recommending confirmation? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor of recommending confirmation. And thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Right, that will take us to item 4, which is Legistar 78172, a substitute supporting and approving our application to the US DOT's Safe Streets and Roads for All implementation grant. On item 4, can I have a motion, please?
Move to that.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt. On item 4, questions. Alder Rummel?
Thank you, Mayor. I've been a supporter of this during my last term, and it's very ambitious. And I'm wondering what mechanisms are in place to sort of track over time what works and what doesn't work. And I don't know that it's going to be in a grant resolution, but it just seemed like a good opportunity to get some data as we go through the future of this program. And if Tom maybe or somebody else can help answer that, would be great.
Yeah, we are tracking data. In fact, one of our strategies in the Safe Streets Madison is safety data, trying to make sure that we both understand if we're being effective, and then also making sure that we're putting the investments where they're needed, based on data rather than necessarily based on, how do I want to say this, community outcry sometimes. And so we will, as far as to see if we're effective, and in many ways that will be a rear view mirror type of thing, right? We'll implement measures that are proven. They call them crash modifications factors, and we use that in our application, saying we plan on this treatment at this location, and this has this crash modification factor, and that's what we hope to implement. And then our safety data in our Vision Zero action plan will be more of a rear view look at saying, all right, that's been implemented. We have 1 or 2 years of data now. How has that worked? We'd like to get to where Hoboken. Have you guys heard of Hoboken, New Jersey? Yeah, so they've actually gotten to zero. They're a United States city that have gotten to 0 deaths and injuries. We had a kind of a conference with them maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and that was useful. We interacted with them at a recent conference we were at as well. But we'd like to be where they are, right, at 0. And so that's what we're doing.
And just one follow-up question, Mayor. And so, Tom, will through the budget process or some way is there a way we can start sharing some of this data with Alder so we can start, at least getting updates and see how it's going?
Yeah, we do have annual reports, and we also have quarterly newsletters. And so, they were working on the annual report for last year, so I'll see if I can send that to you. Last year was actually a good year for us. We did see reduced traffic fatalities. However, I'm just going to say this, there's a little bit of statistical significance, right? There are variations in years. And so you you kind of have to see a trend over a couple of years before you can say, yes, we've succeeded.
But those, anyway, Yang probably was about to say this, but I believe that the newsletters are all available on the website and the reports as well. So it's, and I believe that staff give the Transportation Commission regular updates on these projects. So that would be another place that council members can access that information. But Yang, you probably want to fill in more details there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary, you're absolutely right. So we do send out the quarterly newsletter. I think all orders should be on the distribution list. But if you haven't seen it for some reason, please let us know. We'll make sure to add you to the update list. We are still working on the first annual report. But we're coming to do a yearly report. From since the Vision Zero Action Plan was adopted last year. We're working on it right now. Actually, I saw Renee Calloway is on the call right now. So Renee and other team members are doing a lot of good work putting all the data together. So it's going to be a pretty strong report with lots of data kind of summarize what happened. Actually, for the first report, happened in the last couple of years or so. So once that's done, we're going to share that with all the orders and everybody who subscribe to the Vision Zero email list. Maybe I'll also very quickly. Tom talked a lot about the data and evaluation. For this application, we're trying to use what we call proven safety strategies that's endorsed by US DOT, so that we can actually be the most competitive, since those are endorsed by themselves. But we are building in, a reporting mechanism, evaluation mechanism into that application as well. If we got a grant, we're required to, report on a frequent basis, including the outcome of those projects. And the US DOT is also thinking about maybe working with some communities. I don't think it'll be all of them, but some of them doing more evaluation, afterwards, maybe following these projects for maybe longer term. They do that very frequently, but they do, I think, want to do with this grant program. So we'll be, definitely collecting data and reporting on, what works, what may not work very well. So hopefully it helps. So thank you.
And I just noticed that Alder Slack had posted a letter to us in Legistar, which I hadn't seen before, but till just now. But thank you, and I hope that I'll have a chance to look at that before council. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Evers?
Thanks, Mayor. I have read Alder Slack's letter, and I would wonder if staff has had a chance to look at it yet. Tom, Yang, or Renee. The gist of it is that, we're taking this data-driven approach, but she had some questions. One of them was that certain factors leading to unsafe driving and potential for injuries and crashes have little to do with street design, but more like teen driving, impaired driving, things like that. And we know that during the pandemic, nationwide, not just in Madison, there apparently was kind of an epidemic of unsafe driving. And I've noticed that, and we get complaints in District 13 of drag racing now on Monroe Street on weekend nights, in particular on a Friday and Saturday nights. So could you just review for us a little bit about the coordination with MPD, the element on law enforcement, and Vision Zero. I know that as you know, that street design and reconstruction and all those kinds of things are a big part of it. But could you talk about the overlap with enforcing traffic safety from the work of what cops do on the beat?
Yeah, thank you, Alder Evers. Maybe I can start on that. I know that Rita and Tom may have something to add too. I haven't got a chance to see Alder Slack's letter, but I did have some conversation with her, on the topic. We take Vision Zero as a pretty broad approach. So I think that's what I like about the Vision Zero. That's I think what our team really values. So we're not siloed in kind of infrastructure projects, but rather Vision Zero is about a system approach. It's about putting infrastructure, enforcement, building positive culture all together, and building education components, building in community engagement. So really trying to also after crash care, we're also working with the fire department on that. So we're really taking a broad approach. We definitely working very closely with the police department on the initiative, and they are part of the Vision Zero steering team, and we meet weekly, at least weekly. Go through the issues, and sometimes we meet more often. For example, when we have a fatality or serious injury, sometimes we coordinate more, and also when we often compare notes on the data, making sure we see the same trends, and we coordinate our response, to the city needs in our community. So I would say that we work a lot together, and actually I want to share with you that the mayor actually got us some help from Bloomberg Associates, which is one of the kind of leading think tanks in the country in transportation, and on many other areas. They're kind of philanthropy. They are people from very well-respected background, in different parts of cities, and they work with cities on helping moving cities initiative forward. So we actually got help from them when we started Vision Zero, and so we've been kind of following up with them. And they commented that they have never seen a city where traffic folks and police work so much together, work so nice together. I think that's a big as a compliment to the collaboration happening in Madison. So yeah, we are definitely aware of that, and we have been doing engagement, some with some targeting, teams, like education in school, and some creative messaging on messenger boards, language that we can grab their attention, and we definitely need to do more of those, but we really taking a broad approach, and also we're working with fleet division. Changing the behavior of city vehicle drivers. But we need to do more, and we do take a broad scope.
Well, I appreciate that. That we as alders, unsafe driving is one of the top complaints that we get, and neighborhood meetings that are held in response to concerns around traffic safety. We just had one in the Greenbush Vilas area that Renee helped lead. And residents sometimes feel that they don't get up until the top of the list. The only way to get noticed is if someone gets hurt or injured or perhaps even killed. what would you suggest we can say to remind our residents that about the strategy behind this, that it's not, because many of them are anxious and concerned that their children or somebody's going to get hurt before the city can get around to dealing with their particular street or their particular issue?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, we actually share that quite often from our residents. And we put a lot of thoughts into, how to handle that. We definitely don't have resources to redo every street all at once all at the same time. And that's for sure. And, right now we have, especially during the last few years, we have seen a lot of, I would say, unsafe driving behaviors, on our street, and basically, everywhere, in the country.
Right.
And also, people work from home more, and they notice more. So we received not quite a lot more requests and complaints from residents. So it has been very challenging to responding to those. The new program, the Safe Streets Medicine program, kind of help us to integrate few different programs and looking at things in a whole to prioritize those requests. Right now we have about 500 on the list, but through Safe Streets Medicine in the last few years, last couple of years also, we were able to fund about 90 projects, big and small. So we have to, find a very considerate way to evaluate these requests. So we're mostly focused on safety. We are focused on the most vulnerable road users, pedestrians, bicycles, and we are also building equity considerations into it, so that we can make more equitable investments in the city. But it's still very challenging to accommodate all the needs. But what I really hope is that when we go out to do a project, it does not really, we don't have the mindset before that. When we work on Lakeside Street, for example,
right,
we hope the impact will be beyond Lakeside. So when we go out to do projects, we try to do as much engagement as possible, and we let people know about the projects. We talk about it. So when people drive by Lake Street, they see the Lakeside, they see the changes, and they know why we're doing this. So hopefully that will change their behavior also as well. And when we go out to change the streets, in neighborhood, reduce the speed limit to 20 miles per hour. We hope that when people start driving in the morning, when they drive on the street, they see the 20 miles per hour speed limit sign. It really reminds them that we need to slow down. We need to watch out for other users. And really, I don't think that we'll ever have enough funds able to change every street. But really be very considerate to through these projects, maximize the benefits, and really, trying to use these opportunities to change the culture of our community. I believe that's actually the way for us to be able to get down to there. So, but Renee, Tom, you want to ask anything?
No, I appreciate all the work you're doing. I have one last question. Residents have wondered if they could get help in having some kind of yard signs or whatever of sorts that could be placed in the terrace areas or medians that can remind folks to slow down because kids and pets are at play or whatever. Is this something is there any budget for this within traffic engineering for neighborhoods to request these signs, or is this the kind of thing that they should raise the money for themselves?
Alder, the Safe Communities group does that. So this program already exists through Safe Communities. And they will work with neighborhoods to get signs out. But I should emphasize that working off of an evidence base, they want to come and blanket a neighborhood and have the signs up for a defined period of time. I don't remember how many months it is. Maybe Renee knows, but they don't like leaving them there, because the point is the immediate visual impact. And then if they're there too long, the signs recede into the background.
Understood.
And people don't see them anymore. But the Safe Communities group is absolutely available. They have the signs, and they'll work with neighborhood groups to get them out.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alder. I did also just want to mention, and just to maybe emphasize, and Yang or Renee can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of the Vision Zero work is that it really is focused on changing behavior, changing the infrastructure to be more resilient to bad behavior, and then adding enforcement where bad behavior occurs. And I emphasize that middle point because Alder Slack's letter asks to look at factors like bad behavior, which of course we want to do the education to change that bad behavior or to have programming around that. But one of the main points of the engineering work is to make sure that error on the human side doesn't result in death. And so the engineering work actually is a response to human error, in addition to the educational and behavioral work. And I think it's really important to see the entire program in context. And while this particular grant is for capital projects, that's not the entirety of the work that's being done.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Alder. Are there other questions on item 4? If not, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of item 4? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor of item 4. And we will go on to item 18, which is Legistar 78285, a memo on the Town of Madison final disposition of assets and liabilities. Dave, would you like to run us through?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, committee members. So you should have in your packet a memo from myself and the City of Fitchburg Finance Director, Misty Dodge, to the two mayors, City of Madison and City of Fitchburg, that outlines the calculation of the allocation of the remaining net assets and liabilities between the two cities pursuant to the cooperative agreement, which laid out at a high level how the town would be dissolved and the parcels distributed between the two cities. And then much more recently, so in 2022, the assets and liabilities apportion agreement that was adopted by the councils of both cities that established that of this sort of net assets, 75% would go to Madison and 25% to Fitchburg. And in addition to that, in that resolution, Madison paid Fitchburg $607,000 for Fitchburg's share of the town hall value, which the city of Madison now owns in the entirety, and we are using that facility. We brought on board as a part of this agreement the town's former business manager And that person assisted us as well as worked with Baker Tilly to finalize or prepare the final financial statements for the town. And that showed that the town's cash balances totaled a little under $1.7 million. To that was added the proceeds of sale of movable equipment that was not otherwise sort of physically taken by either city. And we held online auctions as well as on-site auctions to dispose of those assets. And that the proceeds from that activity totaled about $220,000. So that was added to the 1.7 million. And so together, there was about 1.9 million of cash to distribute. But before we distributed that, we deducted a series of costs. First was, in effect, the remaining principal and 1 year of interest on the town's outstanding debt, which because of where the assets were located for which that debt was issued, has been fully taken over by the city of Madison. So all of the assets are located in those parts of the town that came into the city of Madison. We also deducted staff and contract costs for that final audit. Both cities provided police services to the town in the week leading up to the final attachment. The town had a contract with its municipal judge through April of 2023, so that cost was deducted. And then there were other various staff costs, supplies and services costs associated with that final closeout of the town's activities, such as the cost of that sale of equipment. We had computer support costs for the financial services staff and so on. In addition, I just want to point out that there were in the apportionment agreement and in the cooperative agreement procedures around making severance payments to former town employees who were not hired by either city. And the town took care of those severance payments prior to its dissolution. So neither city has to make any payments towards those severance amounts. So with all of those adjustments, the amount that's remaining to be split between the two cities is a little under $887,000. So 75% of that will be City of Madison's. That's about $665,000 and $221,000 to Fitchburg. We've reflected that in our financial statements for 2022, and we will be making that transfer of the cash to Fitchburg in the next few days. So that's a quick summary. It is laid out in the memo in more detail, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or go into any of those details.
Thank you, Dave. Are there questions for Dave? Alder Vitiver.
I'm just going to apologize up front if I missed this, but is there remaining debt that the city has taken on from the town acquisition?
Alder Vitiver, yes, there is remaining outstanding debt. That debt is with the state trust fund. So those are state trust fund loans that the town entered into through the state's Board of Commissioner of Public Lands. And though that debt is on assets that the city, in effect, took over from the town. That debt is on our books. We will look at how to dispense with that as we look at our debt issuance in the fall of this year. We did receive cash equal to that amount, that principal amount plus 1 year of interest. That totaled about $832,000. So that's in the amount of sort of cash that was retained as a part of the costs before we made that 75-25 split with Fitchburg.
Thank you, Alder. Are there other questions? If not, I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Dave and to the entire staff team that worked on transitioning the town of Madison. It was an enormous amount of work and involved people from essentially every agency in the city, plus obviously the town and Fitchburg. And the fact that we are inches away from finalizing is pretty amazing. So a job well done to everyone, and thank you, Dave, to your team and to the whole town of Madison staff team.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, that's the final item on our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good night.